Hi friends, I'm Pam and welcome back to A Scrappy Little Joy. We are here for the second half, part 2 for our Weekly Whim Block 9. Same day for me, next day for you. Refresher, this is our little bird block. It is called A Moment to Mend, and this is our slow down block, okay? This is our block to just relax, take a deep breath, and work on the second half. If you are just finding this, you're going to want to go in our Weekly Whim series playlist and you will find the part 1 for block 9. That's what we are working on today. I'm going to put this over here. Pattern download right below, as you know, but we are going to start right in because I'm going to guess that if you are here, you already know what's the what. Okay, so we're going to put our little giant illustration there. Take my shoes off again. Oh, and you'll see I fixed this little spot. I changed the measurement for this unit, and it measured it settled right in there, all happily like. So I'm really happy about that. So remember, now we are on to the belly side, the tummy side of our little bird. Okay, so we are going to pull our fabrics back out. Hopefully you still have them relatively organized so that you know what's what and where's where. What we need now is let's start laying this out. Let's do our bottom first. Let's get our last long fabric C unit. We're going to put that right down there at the bottom. And then we know this one goes here. It's just like a puzzle, right? We're just putting our puzzle together. We're going to put that one there. As a matter of fact, let's do this. This really doesn't need to be here other than as kind of a guide. So there's that. And then what we need is our big fabric C square, okay? Our big fabric C square. I'm going to just leave that right there. I really like these little tiles that have the numbers on them, the measurements on them, because having to figure out what's what is tough because there's so many pieces. So we've got that one, and now this is where we start to talk. Remember I said that I wanted to kind of do the one at a time with the drawing our diagonal lines. These fabrics for me are directional. So let me just see. This is going to fit right here. And if you see, so this is one of them. My flowers are going up. So I've got to figure out which direction I want to put my diagonal line so that I'm sure that my corner unit is going to go up. I want it to go like this, right? So that means my diagonal line has to go right here. So I'm going to do that real quick. Actually, maybe I will do that over, where's my other mat? Maybe I'll bring my other mat over here so I can just draw my diagonal line. We've got so many mats and boards here. What do I do with my pencil? Friends, what did I do with my pencil? I think I have another pencil over there. I bet I even moved it over there. Oh no, it's over here. Okay, I've got one here. So here we go. We are going to draw a diagonal line this way. Where's my favorite little ruler? Okay. We're going to make sure when we put it back down that we have it the way we want it. Yep, we do. So we're going to sew right on that diagonal line. Okay. We're coming right along. This is going to be the cutest block ever. And what I'm so excited about is I've got an extra bird unit, part of the unit made. So what you guys remember what it means if I have just part of the unit made? Part of the block made. I'm forcing myself to do the rest of the block. That means I will have something I can hang up somewhere, maybe a little wall hanging of that little bird. I'm so proud of it. It's just the cutest little thing. And I'll share with you, this is a block that has been hanging, a little wall hanging. It's bigger, but it's been hanging in my studio. Snippers. I feel them. It's been hanging in my studio. See, I didn't reset between here, guys, between the first one and the second one. Okay, now I'm back in square. It's been hanging in my studio proper for some time. The mice made it, and we have a mouse video. I will see if I can, why am I cutting over there? It's because I'm rushing. I will see if I can have Mr. Woods pull up that mouse video. I'm sure he knows exactly where it is. He's super organized on his computer desktop. His office is atrocious. But, okay, so we are going to press that open. His office is atrocious, but his computer desktop is pristine. He knows where everything is. We just had this conversation this morning. So, probably don't need that. I need to do a better job. But my point is, I'm going to ask him if he can pull up that mouse video when the mouse made the block that is the wall hanging in my studio. And I will show that to you in a few minutes once we get a little progress. Otherwise, I get too chatty Cathy and then, bleh. All right, so that one goes there. We need another block here, another unit here. So this is our fabric E. I've got these all over the place. Fabric E, and our last fabric A, 3 1/4 inch square, okay? Just going to tuck those in there so I don't lose them. Let's draw a diagonal line on the back of one. I've got it on this one. This is a directional fabric, and I really didn't pay too much attention when I was doing it, where I put my diagonal line, or maybe I did. Okay, so do you see? If my fabric E is down here in the lower corner, I want my diagonal line here. We are going to, see, with my directional fabrics. So we are going to sew on both sides of the line. We're going to have a leftover half square triangle with this one. Pretty rare that we have that. We've always talked about it. So scant 1/4 inch on both sides of the line. We've always talked about how, I talked about it in our half square triangle video, that it is typical if you are making a quilt block that you have at least 2, most often 4 of the same, if it's half square triangles in your block, you're going to have most often 2 or 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever. So we don't, yeah, well, we'll do that because that's a little half square triangle that we can do something with. But in this case, because this is more of this is a bird, right? We just need one half square triangle in this spot. So we can save this little half square triangle for something else. If you have that little box or basket, or you've got little orphan units that can live in there until you find a home for it. So I'm going to cut on the diagonal line. Now I'm not sure, I can't remember which, I'll have to figure out which side I wanted for this. I bet it's the other one. Nope, it's this one. Okay, so this little half square triangle I'm going to just put aside, and we're going to trim this one to 2 1/2 inches. So I'm going to get my little corner trimmer, and we're going to press it open again. So if you are pressing first and then trimming, you want to press it open, and you want to make sure that you are trimming to 2 1/2 inches. Close my blade. I'm always inclined to like bump them and just nick my finger. Now you see I have a little nick on my finger here. That's a paper cut from the cardboard when I was trimming the cardboard for a design mat that I'm working on. I was kind of surprised at that, but it's not unlike me if I leave my blade open to bump it just ever so slightly, and oof, our hands bleed like crazy. Okay, so that goes there. This one goes here, right? This one goes here. We're just starting to lay this side out, and then this goes here. Let's do our beak unit. So what we want is our last remaining 2 1/2 by 4 1/2 inch rectangle in the C. All right, and then we want our beak unit, which is F. And this one is going to be another stitch and flip corner. I don't remember if I put a diagonal line. I didn't. Go ahead and put a diagonal line on the back of that. So with this unit, for my particular fabric, it's not directional. So I can just place it in this upper corner and sew on that diagonal line. Remember, I'm going to start on the side, make my life easier, make Jane, my little friend Jane, I like to take care of her, I like to make her happy. Nobody likes to get little pieces of fabric stuck in their craw. Okay, there's that guy. Let's get a little leader in there, an ender in there. Okay, we're going to cut at that 1/4 inch. I'll do it right here. I keep wanting to go over on another side to do it. This is where I wish I had a bigger table, but I do have this left, this spillover table. What do you guys think of my new lights? Can you see them? We did get them up off my table. If you saw the, my little, I forget what we called it, video about kind of what I had going on in the studio. Anyway, that's what I was talking about, the table, the lights on my table. Oh, when I was tidying up after the last block. Okay, so there is our little beak unit, and that's going right here. Okay, and now what we need is another unit up here. This is our ready 2.5 by 2 5/8 unit, and this is why we're going to talk. Let me share with you the quilt, little mini quilt that the mice made. Whoops, it's upside down. I love it, right? It's one of my favorite things that the mice made for me, and they put all these little blocks together, and it was really, really a super fun day, and I love this little block, except I always wished that there was a rounded head here. It felt strange to me. So in part, I have modified this pattern. It's not perfect or may not be perfect, but I really, really, really wanted the little head to be round on the top. So I wanted there to be a little bit extra. So that's what I've added in here. That's why this little unit here is 2.5 by 2 5/8. And the 5/8 is the long way, is going this way. 2.5 is this way. And what we want to do is sew this to our unit. And I think what I decided, go ahead and sew this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, not a scan, because we need it to be just a little bit lower. We need our beak to be just a little bit lower. Is it going to be perfectly lined up to the corner there? It might not, but it's not going to matter. Mine doesn't line up quite perfectly, you'll see. But I've made a little bit of a modification that hopefully it should line up just a teeny bit closer. Okay, so there's that. Okay, there's that, and I'm going to press this open. Okay, there's that. Now let's get our last fabric A big head unit, okay? What we're going to do, I've got the same dealio going here. I want to do some directional. I want my little guy to be directional. So if I want my fabric to go this way, that means my half square triangle, my diagonal line would need to be this way. No, that can't be right. Yes, that would be right, just like that. So my diagonal line needs to go this way, and so it should be fine for my directional fabric to go that way. So this is going to be right on that diagonal line we're going to sew. I'm trying to continue to take my deep breaths in the middle so that I don't get too rushy with this project. Okay, I'm going to trim that off. 1/4 inch, and I'm going to press this baby open. There's that. Okay, all coming together. Now what we need is our little bitty, our smallest fabric C. And they are going to go, we're going to need a diagonal line on both of those, unless you have diagonal seam tape, or you may even be able to eyeball this, where this unit will have our diagonal lines going this way, and we will sew right on those diagonal lines. Okay, let's do that real quick. Okay. And we're going to go on that diagonal line. I was thinking about what we were talking about in the first video, when we were talking about just being ourselves and learning how to take our time and all those kinds of things. And I read somewhere, you know, just sometimes putting ourselves out there in ways that we're not really sure if people are going to, if people are going to jive with our vibe, right? And it's been a growing thing for me here at A Scrappy Little Joy. But I also read something at some point or another, and it stuck with me. Be yourself so your people can find you. And I thought to myself, when I read that, it just spoke to me that if only we all knew that in our earliest days, that just being ourselves, the people that will like us for that reason will find us and will see us and will want to be around us, and we'll gravitate, and we will gravitate to those people. So those are the things that I think of a lot as we work together and as I share just about the things that I have going on in my little world, or have gone on in my little world. Okay, look, we have one more rectangle, our 1.5 by 4.5 rectangle. That's going to go on the top for our little bird's head, right? So let's do that. Another little scant 1/4 inch. Scoochy that over so it's nice and even. You could pin it if you wanted to, friends. It would not be wrong. Okay, our little leaders and enters here. Now what we are going to do, friends, is we are going to, first things first, press this open. Yeah, press it open. And then we are going to join our tummy unit, head tummy unit together before we join it to the body side. All right. Here's going to be our tricky one, so we're going to leave that one for the end. But let's just start to join. Let's see, we want to join these two together with our scant 1/4 inch. I'm almost out of leaders and enders, guys. Again, I had a big old stack here, but we have had a lot of seams with this little block. I didn't mention this is a 12-inch block. One person asked me at one point, and I'm going to press this open. One person asked me in the last, at our Facebook group, asked if what the measurement was for the block. If for some reason I don't say it in our video, you will find it on, you will always find it on our cutting sheet. It's right under here usually. And so this block is a 12-inch block. See how that's going to go together, and we're going to join that. And hopefully it's going to join so that those points come together. But if they don't, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to stress about it. I'm just so happy about the cute little bird. that one's already sewn together. Here we go. There's another one. Okay, and then that goes this way. So let's go ahead and press this open. So this part, just so you know, we're going to have a little bit of finessing and nuancing here. That's why I'm sort of leaving that to the end. So we'll have all of our successes here, and then we'll cross our fingers here. Okay, but I did make a couple of modifications for that, again, because we wanted to, otherwise we would have normally had just this straight head going across there, and this would have been a great big piece of fabric C. And I wanted to round that out a little bit. So in doing that, see, Jane, I'm so sorry. I wasn't patient enough with that. Okay, there you go. In doing that, in making that little extra detail for the roundness of our bird head, we may or may not sacrifice a little bit of symmetry there. But again, I would rather have a round bird head than a flat bird head, and a slightly, possibly not quite perfectly lined up seam allowance for the beak or this part. Okay, so that is that. Let's go ahead and press that. Gosh, we could press that. Is this open? Oh, we could press that open. Because those are the two units that are going together. Those could be open, or if you wanted to press this one toward the fabric C, if you had pressed this up this way, which wouldn't be the worst idea. Let me just do that. I may just, remember, I'm going to reset my seam. I'm going to start it back where it was, and then I will press it up toward the, call it the belly, or the body of the bird. There. See, that's fine. And then those two will go together. Okay, so now we need to join these two guys. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to just hope for the best. We're going to lay this out like this. Maybe if I just, it's a little bit wobbly. Lay this like this. We really, really want these two diagonal seams to go together. And if that's our goal, then we're going to try and line them up as such. And yep, they look pretty nice there. Let's pin that. And now over here, what we may or may not have is harmonious seams for where our beak unit meets our the head of the bird. But we're going to just do the best that we can. So I'm going to pin that too. That one's bent. I'm going to put that over there so I can straighten it. There we go. And then this end may or may not be a little bit long, be a little bit short. I don't know. We can always trim if we have to, but all right. Here we go. 1/4 inch seam allowance. Scant 1/4 inch, sorry. Pin, thank you. Okay, I'm going to take this pin out, and I'm going to just kind of pull this and see if I can't get it a little bit closer, since I've already gotten to that seam. I've already gotten over that beak part. Sometimes we can give it a little bit of a stretch right there, and it gets to where we need it to go. Okay. I'm going to sing a little happy song, and we're going to feel so good that it lines up just the way it needs to line up, just the way our little block is supposed to line up. We're going to just psych ourselves up before we open this up. I love it. A little bit off there. I don't care. It's right on the money there. Cool. Okay, let's press this guy open. And then we can join our whole head belly unit together. And then we can breathe some more. Okay, let's join this unit together. Nice scant 1/4 inch. I definitely want to thank you for your support and encouragement to do these blocks separately, or this block in 2 units, or in 2 parts, because, ooh, I could have really taken a toe out there. And I'd had to run off, and I'd had to do this whole video over again. That would not have been fun. Okay, oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, so now I'm gonna press this seam. See how we have this? This one could be pressed open too, because it's really joining up again with that diagonal seam. So it just makes sense to go ahead and press it open there. And again, I hope as I go along and share, you know, sort of my strategies for pressing, and whether I press them open or to the dark side or whatever, that it helps you to grow in your confidence for that same thing. Okay, so now, did you see what I did? I just flipped this side over to this side. I have a lot of seams to go together here, friends. And so since we changed our mind and we decided to make this a nesting seam, that's going to be a real nice one to pin right there. I'm also going to pin here at the very end. I'm going to be generous with my pinning. This is 2 seams that ideally should snuggle up next to each other. And these guys, let's see if we can make those snuggle up nice. Okay, now when we get to this point, I'm going to see how we doing down here. Pretty good. Okay, so look at that. It's pretty even. So now I'll just put the rest of my pins here, just right where I've got seam allowances. Look, I sewed over my open seam there, but you know what? That's okay. And this is a straight seam there, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, ideally it's nice to keep our seams that we mean to press open, but I am not one. Some people will go back and unpick that seam and make sure that that seam allowance is flat. I don't usually do that that much. Okay, so we're gonna sew this at a scant for sure. Pins out. It really depends if I am feeling like taking my time, totally taking my time, or wanting it to be super, super, super. That's in an ideal world. And oh, what happened to my light there? Just went yellow. I don't know. My funky new lights. So we talk about it. Perfection is the beacon, but the joy's in the journey. It really is. And it depends upon what mood you're in, whether or not you're going to make that take that seam out and make it nice and flat. Kind of depends on what mood you're in. Okay, friends, here we go. Oh, let me trim that off first for the big reveal. Isn't it cool? I so love it. Okay, now for this one, I press that seam open because it is, gosh, that's a lot of seams going together. I hope you were successful. I hope you stuck with me. I hope you took your time. I hope you were patient. I hope you grew with this block. I really worried. I did. Mr. Woods and I talked about it. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to throw too much at him because I really always want you to be successful. But I also really want you to be able to look at a block like this and say, I can make that. If I just take my time, I can make that. Look at us, guys. We did it. I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of me. I hope you loved this two-part series for our Block 9 for our Weekly Whim. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me.